Well folks, what is the crack? A slightly different video today. I had previously recorded this video with audio over the top and stuff like that, but whenever I went into the recording suite, none of it was there. It was just the video. So if the audio tracks are a little bit off, please forgive me. I'm trying just to make it line up as best as possible. I thought about just ditching this video and making a new one, but then you guys wouldn't have seen what had happened between the last video and the video that I would have been making. So in this video, it's just as simple as the other videos. We're going through and trying to see how much further we can get towards our goal. So as you can see here, we started the video with 10 out of 103 feats unlocked. So we're hoping that in this video we can increase the amount of weapons that we have, the quality of our armor, our gloves and our boots, and yeah, so it's quite an interesting video. We're quite efficient with how we played, and yeah, so we just kind of start off here by clearing up our our first island and collect our fish traps, just to try and get as much fish and sand and seaweed as possible, because this will come in handy throughout the sessions. And as we are clearing out these fish traps, I noticed that there is the travelling salesman. So I go in to see what he's offering us, and there's spirit orbs, which are great. I'm super glad to see that, but alas, we didn't have enough. So we then move on to the first proper puzzle of the run, and as you can see here, I'm struggling just ever so slightly, and I give it a good few college tries, a good couple of attempts, and just can't get it going. So it does get to a stage where I just get, I give it a Google, and as the research intensifies, I realise what I've been doing wrong, and so even though I've just Googled it, I give it another couple biffs, which is, yeah, my goodness. So this is finally exactly what you should be doing after another couple of bits of research, shall we call it. There we go. So it should be bottom right, top left, top right, bottom left. And here you can see that we got a chest from that. So I decided to build a couple more bridges from this island to the main one, as this is our route, our main arterial route. But as you can see, I can't quite fit between the forge and the furnaces, so I destroyed the forge and look to build it again, but a little bit more out of the way this time. So I built a couple of keys, and while we waited for them to craft, we just destroyed a few of the bits. So now that we have the key and we opened the chest, we got a top hat. Coins are worth 50% more. So we go back to just foraging, which is obviously the main aim of the game. So we then go and craft a couple more coins to try and get as much capital as possible. This will allow us to build more islands and things like that. So we go look for more land to see exactly how much money we'll need, and we settle on this 280 piece of land. And as you can see, it did spawn in a fountain, and this fountain is our second NPC that we'll meet in this run so far. So we just go back to destroying trees and the likes, checking out the inscription table to see what we need to go for the next book to allow us to have more XP gained, craft some more leather and thread, and just continue to do the daily admin tasks that have become the bread and butter of this game. So we go back to fish traps, looking for sand and seaweed and fish so that we can stay afloat. So we travel down south towards the bottom of our current island setup, And as you can see, there's a couple of fairies here. So we got 2 bottles, we crafted them to capture the fairies for later use. This just allows us to kind of stock up while we have the chance of fairies, because they appear to slow down a bit when the game progresses a bit more. So, and for some reason I just couldn't get the fairies off my toolbar, so I had to bring them back out of the vault and take it off the toolbar and put them back into the vault again. This is where I decide that we need to do a bit more foraging. We need to craft a couple more bits of thread, get just some more resources in general before we go down towards the ferry, because the person that will be in this fountain only comes at night times. So just trying to kill a bit of time here and make it as efficient as possible. So as nighttime approaches, here we find ourselves just like this outside the museum. We go over to the ferry and we talk to her. Sweet child, let my fairies rest your weary body. I need you to ask for a very small donation. I will reward you with the power of my fairies. And then she asks for a small donation of 1,000 gold. And then we see our friend, the travelling salesman, again. We decide that we're going to actually buy stuff off them this time. So we go up and we get some fish. We sell it to the travelling salesman and we buy a spirit orb. This is the first spirit orb that we'll see in this run, and it allows you to choose a boon. Permanent health increase, permanent energy increase, permanent damage increase, but we decide to go for the energy increase as the food situation has been a bit, or the energy situation has been a bit trying. So this is where we get level 22, our next skill point of this run. So we decide to go into summoning, which unlocks sigil markers, shrines, recharge faster. That allows us to unlock spirituality, which will be our next unlock, hopefully, which allows us to build a shrine to build void portals, which are the next crucial bit of our run. So we go back to foraging and we apply that obelisk. At this stage I decided that digging is the best way forward for obtaining sand. We're just not getting enough from the fish traps, so this is how I will be spending quite a bit of my time in the rest of this run. So just digging every little spot that I can to try and maximize the amount of sand that we can get to build glass, so that we can smelt it in the furnace. And then, as you see, we're approaching here on the other side of the island a little spot. This is a dig spot which brings not just sand but can also give you gems and amulets and stuff like that. So here we are just back to our regular foraging after doing a bit more of the dig spots, because as you can see our islands are getting a little bit overgrown, and this just allows us to, once we level it all, it allows us to get some more gold and iron instead of just wood. And as you can see here, this fairy is eluding me by sitting just out of reach like a little scamp. But yes, so we go back to foraging after that while the fairy decides to wise up, and then we go back to digging, because as I said, we need as much sand as possible so that we can achieve the upgrades. I believe we need about 90 glass for the boots, the book and the gloves that we wish to upgrade. So as you can see, we go back to looting our fish traps. Just this is another bit of admin before we go and craft some more glass, and this is where we start crafting our golden boots as well. So we leave that to craft while we go and forage a bit more, destroying the enemies that are around, getting more gold, more iron, more wheat, just everything that we can get our hands on at the moment, because as I said before, our islands are becoming that little bit more overgrown. So we need to really just try and keep on top of this at this moment in time to allow us. And as you will see here, despite the fact that we used the spirit orb to increase our energy capacity. It still is a bit of a struggle for us, and we still have to eat quite often, so it just quite isn't enough, but we can increase that later on. So you can see that we level up to level 23, which gives us spirituality, which gives us 2 spirit orbs and a spirit forge. Now the only problem with the spirit forges at the minute is that we don't have crystals, because the biomes that we've been getting seem to just be grass biomes. At the moment it doesn't allow us to get crystals to build the spirit forges, which means that we can't go to the void, and then it means that it just kind of slows progress down that little bit more. So we built a cauldron just because we had the resources at the moment, and this will set us up for later when we need to build potions, and if we ever have any problems with gems, means that we can transmutate steel. But at the moment we haven't actually made too many bits of steel, so we'll need to stay on top of that at the moment, which we start doing a bit more often, and we need to start keeping on top of our iron and our gold to make sure that we have enough for everything. So that's why you might see a little later on that I'm not doing a max amount of steel. I might only do half or a couple. So I then noticed that in my inventory had a couple more spirit orbs, so we go for more stamina and more attack damage, then use one of the druid scrolls to allow us to try and get that a little bit closer to level 24. I use the obelisk to try and get us as much XP as possible, whether that be through foraging or whatever. Because we don't really have another obelisk at the moment, it means that it's better just to have it on, just in case. So then I come down and notice that we still need a lot more gold, and so I put some more on to smelt and take out a couple more slimes, add a couple more coins just to try and provide us with that much needed capital, and I acquire our golden boots. Check out what we need for the next set of boots and gloves, and add some more steel to the smelter. As you can see, not adding all of them just in case we need the iron and the gold a little later on. So go back to cleaning out the natural resources here in the top right of our empire, just slowly but surely working my way through it, getting that little bit closer to level 24 each and every time. And as you can still see that in the top left, our stamina is going down quite quickly, and we're having to eat fish fairly regularly. But we're getting all of the needed things from the natural resources. So here we got enough money just to buy another bit of land. So I'm just looking around here and decide on the 560, and finally we have got a desert biome, a different biome than our grass. This allows us to get a lot more items and dig spots and bottled beetles and everything. So this is our first proper indoor puzzle of the run, and this one does prove to be quite interesting for us. So the aim is to get this blue cube up to the top right blue cube. So this one has electricity in it, and we're trying to get that electricity to here to open the door. So here we've got our first enemy. We take them out pretty easy, and we appear in our first room. We just are trying to traverse through the ancient tomb to see, kind of get our bearings and work out what the best way to attack this is. And these two are one of my least favorite enemies, because when you're at the start it's a bit harder when you don't really have too much damage. I got to cheese that guy a bit there. So the plan is now to attack this block and head it right up to the top here, open this door, and we experience another enemy of my least favorite enemies, but sure, here we are. And so he goes down pretty easy, and I realize I need another cube. For goodness sake, when it rains it pours. So open up this other side just to make sure that there's not a electricity cube in here, and lo and behold, there isn't. So take that free bit of coal just while I can, and decide that I need to find another cube somewhere else. So go back over to the right hand side and take this cube here, because as you might notice, the enemies that are just the side of this wall here are actually providing enough electricity to open the door for a small period of time. So I'm just trying to navigate my way through these enemies as efficiently as possible without taking too much damage. Struggle a wee bit there, but that's okay. So I'm just waiting for an opportune time. The nice thing is that if you push E, it just pulls it back that little bit more, so that's all good. So I've got I'm going for the chest over here in the top left, and realise that my inventory is full, so discard an egg and pick up the topaz, because it's going to be a lot more useful a little later on. So then I continue the puzzle by moving the electric blocks into place to progress through this area. So here's 3 enemies here, and we didn't get to see too much of them last time because we killed them pretty quick, but they dart around the room if you leave them too long. And this is huge, the Thunder Rod. This is game changing for us. This allows us to zap enemies and power structures, but not only enemies, but destroy items. Huge. It means that we can attack more than one item at a time, and we don't need to just use our pickaxe. It can also sometimes be even faster than our current pickaxe because we haven't had the items to upgrade our current pickaxe as much as we would have liked to. So we go back over to the right hand side and we bring the electric blocks over to try and plug them in and allow us to continue the puzzle on this side. You can see I'm struggling just a wee bit here because I'd hit it just too hard that first time round, and the enemies are trying their best to mess me up. So we continue through by pushing this power block right through into place. And the nice thing is, with the Thunder Rod, we can actually power those little blocks without the cubes. So that means that it just has a little bit more of freedom for us. And you can see there that I wasn't really paying too much attention. So this is how much damage that each do at the moment. So that's why I'm not really using the Thunder Rod to attack enemies as much as I am using my sword, because my sword attacks for 2 attack damage rather than 0.3. So we're in a good spot, just making sure that I've got everything. And here we go. This is the boss, the Thunder Elemental of this tomb. So you can see that they are quite tanky, and I'm trying to cheese it the best I can, but I only have 3 hearts of health. I'm trying my best to pay attention to the health while trying to do as much damage as possible, but as you can see, I've only, well, now 5 bits of fish left, and this enemy can spawn other enemies. So the longer I leave it, and the longer that this enemy's alive, the more enemies that show up. So I decide to go for the Thunder Rod, but as you can see, the Thunder Rod has a usage bar itself. So that makes this just a little bit harder, that I can't just hold the left mouse button and attack them forever, which is a bit unfortunate, but we make it work. So I'm just trying to plug away at them as best as possible, and I'm trying to take as little damage as possible, which is not really going well. As you can see in the top left, I'm down to 1 bit of fish. I'm going in and out and in and out, and I get the Swordmaster feature, and this allows us to get a Mandalorian looking helmet, which is quite cool. And then I realise I'm out of fish. Oh mate, I don't want to leave the tomb, so I think peppers and meat is my saviour. However, they don't add any health, they just add stamina, and none of the food that I have with me adds health. So I go back in and just try my best. Alas, dungeon failed. So the first death of the run. So we go back in to try against the Thunder Elemental. We start off strong this time round and didn't pay attention to my health in the top left. Dungeon failed. So 3rd time's a charm, right? So we're back through it, and back with the Thunder Elemental, and this time I have equipped as much fish as possible. I've topped it up every time that I've left the tomb, and so I'm just trying to a bit of shock and awe tactics, because I'm trying my best not to let the boss spawn in more enemies. So I decide this is it, I'm just gonna keep my hotbar as limited as possible with a sword and food, and I'm just gonna shock and awe, just keep going in and out and in and out and trying not to take as much damage as possible. It works sometimes, not all the time, because as you can see, once the enemies start piling up, it gets harder and harder. They're almost waiting for you to come into the door to finish their attack. Not so much you can just start it, but finish their attack. So I just keep going in and out and trying my best, and then I realise, my goodness, there's just far too many in here. How the heck am I going to cope? So I'm just going in and out and in and out and thinking, racking my brain, how is this going to work? Am I going to get through this? Is this just above my pay grade at this moment in time? As I'm doing this, I realise that the boss's health is quite low. You'll be able to see here in just a moment, as the boss comes to the door, you can see how low the health is, and this allows me to feel euphoric. I'm feeling like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can barely see the health of the boss, and there we have it. And we gain a new feature as well, Happy Days. As you can see, we also leveled up twice while in here, but the enemies are still there, so I decide, well, there's a lot of them. I'm not going to get them with just my sword, so let's go for the Thunder Rod. And this just allows us to attack more than one enemy at a time, and there's an artifact. Our first, I think, proper artifact from one of these tombs, and it's the Ancient Seal. And we also get a heart container, which means that our max health is increased by 1. This is huge. So now that that's finished, we go back to just showing off how the Thunder Rod works, and looking at land to buy. So we decide to go for this spot of land here, which presents another obelisk and another desert. So we decide we're going to go for, what we're going to go for, and we decide to go for jewellery. And then craftsmanship, which unlocks royal steel and royal clothing. And I think next time we're going to go for optics for the lighthouse. And we don't need manufacturing just yet, and we don't need power plants just yet. Yes, it works for the current buildings that we have, but it's just not really what we're looking for at the moment. And so we just go through a few more of these things, and then we go back to foraging and trying to keep our camp as neat and tidy as possible, because as you can see, again, it's got very, very overgrown. And there we go, inventory problems as per usual. So I decided to make a couple more vaults and just plonk in as much resources as possible. Obviously it's just 6 at a time, so do it pretty unbiasedly, and just whatever comes to the mouse cursor first goes straight in. This just allows our inventory to free itself up just that little bit better. So as we finish up here, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. If you preferred the format of me talking about what I did do rather than what I'm doing at the moment, let me know down in the comments. And if you like it, share it with friends and family, and let me know down in the comments how I could improve any better. But until next time, keep well and see you later. Bye-bye.